Some of you have been asking for me to give you some additional assistance over the weekend. And so I decided to make this video to walk you through your paper. Um, for those of you who have already written your paper, you can look at this video and sort of go through it to see if you have the necessary components. For those of you who have not started on your essay, this should be a big help to you for you to get started. Right? You can take this recording, rewind it as many times as you need in order to fully understand what's required in your literary analysis essay. Right? The first thing is you should have an introduction. Your introduction is the first paragraph in your essay. You can begin it one of these 5 ways here. Either one of these will do, but you need to think about what literary device you're focusing on. If you're focusing on character, for instance, you may want to use a meaningful quote of dialogue between the two characters, right? A snatch of dialogue between the two characters. If you're writing about theme or some universal idea, or you could find a quote that reflects that idea, or you could simply state that idea like in example 3 and 4 here. If you wanted to start with a startling fact, right, or a bit of information that deals with your subject, you could do that. I think, or if you're writing about setting, you could start with a vivid description of the setting from the story that you're focusing on. I think for the purposes of our literary analysis, and because of the prompt, which is asking you to write about point of view, character, theme, and setting, you probably are going to want to use either numbers 2, 3, 4, or 5 here, depending on if you're writing about character or setting or theme or point of view. Okay, look at the examples that are here. You're going to begin your essay with one of these ways and make sure that after you've put your dialogue between the characters, that you introduce the tag, which is the title, the author, the genre. If you look at this example here, immediately after this quote from the story, which is also cited. If you're going to use a quote from the story in your intro, make sure you cite the story. But immediately after that quote, the writer introduces those words, the author's name, and the title of the story. And then they explain the significance of that particular dialogue or what it represents. The same thing is going to happen here when you're using a meaningful quotation. Again, to be or not to be, that is the question. This familiar statement expresses the young prince's moral dilemma in William Shakespeare's tragedy, Hamlet, Prince of Denmark. Again, if you're going to start it with a quote, then you're going to describe where the quote originates, and you are going to make sure that you include a tag. Title of the story that you got, that you're writing over, the author, and the genre. Okay, so immediately after you put your quote or your dialogue or your startling information or your universal idea, you want to make sure that you cite which story you're writing about and who the author is, and then also refer to the importance of that quote or that dialogue or that theme. Okay. Later on in this presentation, I'm going to give you an example of everything that I'm going over. Right? So that's your intro, the first part of your intro. The very last sentence of your intro, after you've introduced the story, the background, the dialogue, the interesting quote or whatever you're putting, you are going to have a thesis statement. Now, a lot of you are having an issue with your thesis statement from looking at your rough drafts. Your thesis statement is going to provide the overall main idea for your paper. So your thesis has to be this broad statement that covers the theme, and it also has to cover the device that reveals that theme. Okay? Again, your thesis has to have two components. Your thesis has to tell me what the theme of the story you're dealing with. An example would be if your story was about war and you came up with the idea that war dehumanizes mankind. So war makes us less human. Okay? That is the theme that you're saying this story covers. So not only do you take that theme, but you have to add to and suggest how that theme is revealed by the author. Now that theme is going to be revealed either with what we have: setting, character, or a point of view, or plot. All right, those are the four devices that I told you that you could write over for this initial essay. So the theme is going to be revealed through one of these four ways. It's either going to be through setting, through character, through point of view, or plot. Right? So let's take this theme, and then we're going to make a claim about this theme, and we're going to put those two things together, and we're going to have a thesis statement. Right? An example of how the theme is revealed by the author is going to be through Paul's experience behind the lines, through the Russian at the camp, and through the attack on the battlefield. Right? These three things explain how the theme is revealed. They're talking about the actual plot here. And they're going to give you three examples from the plot: his experience behind the lines, the Russian at the camp, and then the attack on the battlefield. Right? So they're going to put these two things together, and they're going to formulate a thesis. War dehumanizes mankind. The author shows this through Paul's experience behind the line, the Russian at the camp, and the attack on the battlefield. So they take all of that and they write a thesis statement here. Through Paul's experience behind the lines, at a Russian prisoner of war camp, and especially under bombardment in the trenches, Eric Maria Remarque realistically shows how war dehumanizes a man. Right? So if you look at each of these different ideas that this writer has, he puts them all together and meshes them together in order to form a thesis statement. All right. Sometimes your thesis statement can drag on, especially if you're doing like this writer and you're describing three things within the plot, or three ways that the setting, or three characteristics of the character, or three things the character does that help expose his character. Right? Sometimes your thesis can become long. In that case, you want to break it up into two sentences. Here's an example of that. Here you can read over that example and look at it to see how the writer does that. After you have your thesis, though, you are pretty much set. And the next job is that you have to develop the body of your paper. I'm going to focus my time on the body of the paper here. And I'm using color coding in order to help give you a better idea of what your body paragraph should look like. Okay. The topic sentence is going to be in black. The topic sentence is one of the ways or points that you use to support your thesis statement. Right? I came up with this acronym that was actually given to me in a set of instructions that I bought a long time ago from a company. And so I'm going to show you this format in order for you to know what your body paragraph should look like, right? The topic sentence is going to be the first sentence of your body paragraph. It identifies one aspect of your thesis, and it states a primary reason why the thesis is true. It does not, I repeat, not include quotes from the text. Do not put any quotes in your topic sentence. If you are checking over your paper and you're looking at the first sentence of your body paragraph, if it has quotations, you need to start over. Okay? Your topic sentence has a formula, and this is the formula. It is going to introduce a topic, plus it's going to make a claim about that topic. Okay? Now, your topic is going to support your thesis. For example, if you say that you're going to examine, let's say you're examining the character of Miss Emily in A Rose for Emily, right? You're going to have a topic about Emily. The topic is going to be her character, right? You could say her stubborn nature, right? But you have to make a claim about her character. What does her character or her stubbornness show? The stubborn nature of Miss Emily reinforces the Faulkner's idea that she is a relic of the past, right? So you have to make a claim about whatever topic you are about to discuss, right? That's what your topic sentence should entail. I'm going to give you an example of these a little bit later on, but just so that you understand what the makeup of a topic sentence is. It's going to include a topic like the character of Miss Emily, the character of the narrator in the Battle Royale, the setting in Kate Chopin's Storm, right? So it's going to include a topic, but then you have to make a claim about that topic. What does the setting represent? What does the character, what aspect of the character are you focusing on? And what does that aspect of that character represent? Okay. After you have a topic sentence, you will include concrete details. The most important thing about the concrete details is that it comes directly from the story. It's going to be a quote. However, you don't ever just stick a quote immediately after your topic sentence. You need to have what is called a lead-in phrase or sentence that prepares the reader for the textual evidence that you're about to introduce. That can be done by summarizing what is happening in the quote or summarizing the action either that has happened before that quote or that's happening during that quote, right? The concrete detail is definitely going to be a direct quote from the story, but your concrete detail is not going to be any more than 2 to 3 sentences of quotations. Do not put an entire paragraph of a quote in order to try and elongate your essay. You need to limit the amount of sentences when you introduce a quote to 2 to 3 sentences from the text. 2 to 3 sentences from the text for this concrete detail. And then make sure you have a lead-in phrase before you introduce it. The CC part of this acronym is going to be commentary. This is where your explanation and your analysis of your evidence takes place, right? Your evidence is used to prove your topic sentence. Your commentary is used to explain how your evidence proves your topic sentence, right? And so the CC part of that acronym is going to be your interpretation of the evidence. All right, you're going to tell me what the text means or what the writer was suggesting by having this particular evidence or information presented in the text. Again, your commentary should be twice as long as your textual evidence. If you have 2 sentences of textual evidence, you should have 4 sentences of commentary. Okay? If you go back up and look at this formula, when you put 1 piece of evidence, you're going to have, again, 2 sentences of commentary because you have 1 piece of evidence. If you have 2 sentences of evidence, you're going to have 4 sentences of commentary, 3 to 4 sentences of commentary. But you're not going to stop your paragraph there after you put the first concrete detail and the commentary. You are going to then add another piece of evidence in order to make this a full body paragraph. One more piece of evidence. It could be 1 sentence piece of evidence or 2, but you're going to follow the same instructions. You are going to have a lead in for that sentence, and you are going to put a quote. But before you do, you are going to add a transition. Right? You're going to have a transition sentence there. When you're in the same body paragraph, you've put your first piece of concrete detail and commentary. Before you put that second piece, you need to add a transition. Furthermore, not only, but also, another example of this is when, and then you'll put the quote, all right, or the lead in, right? At the end, after you put your 2 pieces of evidence and your 2 commentary sentences, you're going to end that paragraph with what is called a concluding sentence or clincher sentence. That clincher sentence is ultimately going to refer back to the textual evidence and how it supports your topic sentence and ultimately your thesis. This sentence is not going to be a repeated sentence, but it is going to be a paraphrase or a final thought about how all of the evidence that you've presented here relates or supports that topic sentence. Okay. What I have for you next is an actual sample paragraph, and it is color coded here. The color coordination is so that you can see how each particular part works in a body paragraph, right? The part in black is going to be the topic sentence. And this comes from William Golding's Lord of the Flies, right? And so the thesis statement from this story is that William Golding uses the conch as a symbol. And that conch symbols how the theme of how humans, when they're removed from society, they will become evil, right? So here's the theme. I'm going to take it and copy it and put it up in this part here where I have the thesis statement here. And I'll just take this thesis statement away and I will put this one there, right? And so this thesis statement here is going to be used in order to support this paragraph here. The thesis statement here says the boy's evolving relationship with the conch illustrates Golding's theme that humans, when removed from the pressures of civilized authority, will become evil. Okay? And so here's the body paragraph that supports that thesis. The topic sentence is going to show a topic, plus it's going to make a claim. The topic is that the conch is an important symbol. Okay? So the topic is the conch is an important symbol. So you have to make a claim. Okay? So how does the writer show the conch is an important symbol? He shows that because he says it unites the boys and gives them power to deal with their situation. This is the claim of how the conch functions in the story. Right? For you, yours would be your thesis statement instead of the conch, because you're not writing over symbolism, you're writing over setting. So your subject would be the setting. The setting is important in the storm because you have to make a claim about the setting, because it shows something or it does something or it creates some type of situation for the characters. Whatever your topic that you're writing about, whatever it does, and whatever the writer is suggesting by using that topic, that is what you put in your topic sentence. Okay. Here, the topic sentence has a topic plus a claim. Once you have that topic and that claim, you're going to then introduce the concrete details. What evidence do you have that shows that this conch is an important symbol that unites and gives these boys power? Right? Here, you're going to have a lead-in sentence. When the conch is first found and blown, it brings everyone together. This basically tells me how it unites them. Right? And then you're going to put a quote here, and you're going to make sure you cite that quote. Okay, that comes from the story. Ralph found his breath and blew a series of short blasts. Piggy exclaimed, "There's one." Okay, they're talking about the conch. Now, you as a reader and a writer, you have to explain to me, okay, so how does this quote prove that the conch unites them? Right? And this is the writer's idea that shows that. Here, Piggy observes one boy emerging from the jungle, but soon boys come form all around. Each comes for his own reason, some for plain curiosity, others for the prospect of a rescue. They all form the first assembly thanks to the conch. The first job of the assembly is to unite even further and choose a leader. Right? So again, this explains how this quote shows that this conch serves as a symbol that brings all these people together. They're going to put another piece of evidence. Once again, the conch plays an important part. It is Ralph who is chosen to be the chief, and the main reason for this is because he holds the conch. When it is put to a vote, the boys exclaim, "Him with the shell, Ralph. Let him be the chief with the trumpeting thing." Right? This part here that I haven't read is actually going to be still a part of the analysis here. So I'm going to change that to green. Right? The next piece of evidence, though, is again a lead-in sentence here, which could use a transition. They could have added something like, another way the conch unites the boys is when it's put to a vote, the boys exclaim. Right? This could use a transition sentence here or a transition phrase there, but they're going to put another quote, and this time they're going to put a one-sentence quote here, and so their commentary is also going to be about a sentence. Here you have more quotes, so you're going to have more sentences of commentary. At the end, after this commentary here, you're going to conclude this paragraph. All they're doing is going back up to their thesis statement, looking at the idea that was presented here, and they're going to paraphrase that, summarize it, state it in a different way. All right? It leads back to the topic sentence. Thus, at first, the conch is an important object bringing civilized influences to the boys as they work together to make the best of a bad situation. And you'll notice that the concluding sentence is a bit more general. Right? It makes a general idea. They're working together to make the best of a bad situation. It doesn't repeat the specific events that occurred in that body paragraph. Okay? Or in that topic sentence. The conclusion is going to be the last part of your essay. You will have several body paragraphs depending on how many points you are making to prove your thesis. Right? You definitely will have more than one body paragraph, but each of your body paragraphs will follow this formula. So before you get ready to submit your essay, look over this formula and make sure that each body paragraph follows this formula. Once you have 2 or 3, probably 3 body paragraphs, you are going to write your conclusion. Your conclusion is going to do these 6 things. Reflect on how your essay topic relates back to the short story as a whole. Evaluate how successful the author is at achieving his or her theme. I don't want you to give a personal statement about the topic. I don't want you to make predictions, but I do want you to connect back to your creative opening. that you put there and sort of tie up your essay as a whole. So for the conclusion, I narrowed it down to these three things that I want you to do. Okay. Make sure that your conclusion does that. In the following papers, then, what I have here is a sample that was provided from a seminar that I attended, a guide to writing literary analysis. And so I've credited the author down here. But this essay is from that literary guide. And it is the same paragraphs that I took out and explained to you. But this is the essay as a whole. Look over this essay and look at each of the body paragraphs and look at the topic sentence and then look at the evidence. Look at how they're tying up the evidence, how they're introducing it, right? This is just another sample for you to look at before you actually turn your essay in. And this is a sample for you to use if you're having some trouble. You can rewind this video as much as possible and go over these things over and over until you begin to understand how to incorporate these things into your own writing. If you have a question about anything, please let me know. Thanks, guys.